And good evening. On the heels of a Bears defeat in the playoffs to the Rams, as the season ends in dramatic fashion, but unfortunately, the Bears on the wrong side of the stick. And another dramatic performance by the quarterback. Listen. Here's my first take of this, man. If I can actually put the pin on someone to blame for this loss. A lot of people are citing Caleb Williams as the factor because he had 3 turnovers. I get that, but I want to put this at the feet of Rome Odunze, the wide receiver drafted number 9 in the 2024 draft, and of course he came in the same draft for Caleb, and from he set the tone early, and it was a bad tone by dropping a what appeared to be a touchdown pass from Caleb. And you have to understand that when you can't set the tone like that and you drop an easy TD pass, you just basically took the momentum away from your team. You've actually just took the confidence away from them. And that's exactly what happened in this game. Um, and from the start, the Bears just couldn't get no traction because it's like a domino effect. If Roma Dunze drops that ball, I think it just caused a bad effect on his teammates. Therefore, they couldn't catch anything. Now, if it's the opposite happens where he catches the ball, I think his teammates catch the ball. I just think it works like that. That's the way I think it's a domino effect. And I think from the start of the game, him dropping that ball was crucial to the Bears' success going forward. I think if he catches the ball, we're talking about a different score, possibly 30-10 Bears. Let's be real, man. The Rams, they the Rams did not have their best game. When you hold Puka Nacua, the 5 catches for 56 yards, and Devontae Adams, 2 catches for 24 yards. Adams, by the way, I think he led the league in TD receptions for touchdowns. So when you hold those guys with no TDs and hold them below 60 yards, both of them, that's that should be a Bears win. The Bears control the clock. They and my from my perspective, yeah, the Rams were. I think what I saw, the Rams were very good with the run D. Also, the Rams had a stout run defense. I give them credit there. They were very physical, towards our run game. I think you only saw Kyle Monangai have a nice little run. I think it was like 12 or 13 yards, and after that, the Bears, it was hard to get that extra 3-4 yards that the Bears so easily did during the season. But this loss lays at the feet of Roman Dunze, and I mean, if you're drafted in the top 9 of the draft in the 2024 draft, and I expect you to be better than that, to be drafted that high. I mean, it's no excuses here. I like Rome. I think he's a nice kid. He's a good kid, but he just listen. He dropped the ball. He dropped the ball, and it's. I don't. I just hope he can recover from these because he's been doing this all year for the most part. After he had that nice little 5-game stretch, he hasn't been himself. And I mean, you have to look. Some of the greatest wide receivers in the National Football League catch that ball. The Jerry Rices, they catch that ball. The Justin Jeffersons, they come away with that. The Terrell Owens, they catch that ball. You either have it or you don't. And in that particular situation, Roma Dunze should have caught that ball. And I think that was like a domino effect. And I think the team lost confidence after that. That explains why they dropped the ball at least 7 to 8 times last night. The Rams didn't drop any balls. And that's why you have, I really do believe if Roma Dunze catches that TD pass early on the first drive, we're not even talking about the throw that Caleb made to take the team in overtime. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about a Bears 30-10 win because I think that would have gave them the boost they needed to beat that Rams team, who did not look like they was ready for the cold. Um, so where do we go from here? Do I see a continued success? Possibly. But you look at the Bears' history from, let's say, 2001. We had a miracle season there. We won, I think they won 13 games. And the following year, they didn't make the playoffs. The 2005 and 2016 were, the 2005 team were a good team. I think they lost to Carolina that year. They went 11-5. Then they went 13-3, went to the Super Bowl. But the next year after, they didn't, they were on a downtrend. They bounced back in 2010 with Cutler, and they got to the NFC Championship game. But the following year, they didn't make the playoffs because Cutler got hurt. But there's a difference between those teams and this team is the fact that those teams were defensive oriented teams. They were led by the defense. The Bears were still behind in modern day football and what it should be. Um, I believe football has always been a coach quarterback led league. It's just the Bears have always had that defensive mentality of approach, which explains why the Bears are so always known for their defense. So now things are a little different because we now have a offensive guru, head coach, and a quarterback combination that is leading this franchise to the end of the decade and on to the 2030s. So there is a high chance that there could be a nice string of successful seasons ahead of us that includes playoff appearances and possibly a Super Bowl, things that we haven't seen since the 1980s. It's very likely that that's going to happen. But you never know with this league. You never know. You know, things happen. I mean, we see with Joe Burrow. Remember his teams. He had a. Let's not forget, man. Burrow and his coach, two offensive. Well, I'm not sure how Zach Taylor is viewed upon as being some type of quarterback whisperer or guru. But yeah, he's funny off on the side of the ball. And you had Joe Burrow. And they were projected to have these string of consecutive winning seasons together. But you see, they can't have a consistent trail of success because Burrow's always hurt. Now, the beauty of with Caleb is very durable. He has not missed a game. And I'm telling you, when he threw that first ball and it looked like his hand got jammed or his finger got jammed, I thought maybe that was bad. I said, "Oh, that could be bad," because he was basically wagging his finger, and I thought maybe that was going to be the game where we might see Tyson Bagent. So Caleb, he could be the man to steal because there's a few times where I thought, damn, is that a knee injury? And he's fine. And same thing here. Oh my God, is that a broken finger? Oh, he's fine. So we have a durable quarterback. So let's hope this continues. But just to explain the emergence of Caleb Williams, what that means to the Bears and this franchise, it's huge, man. He's put the Bears back on the map, and the future's very bright. It's very bright, man. To explain what happened on that amazing 14-yard pass to Cole Kmet, and of course, we all know Caleb had traveled backwards at least 25 yards to make that completion. Um, it was a 4th and 4 play. I will explain my location. I was I'm in Atlantic City. I'm at Harrah's Resort Casinos. That's where my daughter's volleyball event was. So of course we stayed there for the weekend. So her game finished just in time. Her game concluded at 6:30, and I was able to track down to the bar to the AC Burger Company. That's what they call it. Good wings, by the way. Great wings over there. So I'm watching I'm watching the game, and of course I'm going through my emotions during this whole time. We finally get to the fourth quarter, and the Bears are down 17-10, and here we are driving. And Caleb is doing what Caleb does. He's done it all year. He's bringing his team back, willing them to victory from little scrambles to nice short passes. He's doing it again. And I say, well, here we go. And on that 4th and 4 play, when he dropped back and started going backwards, I said, shit, this is not good. I said, this is not good. I'm just looking, I'm like, oh my God, this is it. Season's over. He heaves the ball 40 yards or 40, 50 yards in the air into the Chicago skies. And the way the footage was like, it was unreal how the camera captured from that throw. And then you see the end zone, and Cole Kmet's all alone. He catches the ball. I'm like, oh my God. I got up from my chair. I ran out the bar. I literally ran out the bar. I just couldn't believe what the hell I saw. I just ran out, said, "Oh my God!" I think people probably thought I was a lunatic because I'm the only Bear fan in there, and I live and bar, and sure enough, the Bears pulled off one of the miraculous that I said wins, but miraculous plays that I have ever seen as a fan. I wish it was a win. But unfortunately, the game ended in a loss in overtime. I thought everybody's talking about Ben Johnson. Should he went for the two after that touchdown? It's all about opinions, man. Everybody has an opinion, just like assholes. We all have opinions. Just like I go to my X feed and everybody's just saying this, everybody's saying that. It's all opinion, man. But I'm riding with the coach. I'm very pleased with his decision. I rode with this guy all year. He's Ben Johnson is he's exceptional. He says all the right things. You just know you have a leader with Ben Johnson. You clearly have a leader as a coach. You couldn't say that for Matty Eberflus. Matty Eberflus was horrible. He's the worst coach in Bears history, by the way. Can't tell me anything different. He's worse than Abe Gibron. That's how bad Matt Eberflus is. He's worse than Abe Gibron. Many of you probably don't know, but he's a head coach of the Bears, early 70s. But he was a brutal head coach. But like I said, this Ben Johnson, he just feels right as a head coach, taking his team into the 20, of course, the late 20s decade and the 30s. He looks like the right coach. And Caleb just fits the mantle for the quarterback. He does. I mean, at first I wasn't sold. I remember the first game against early this season with JJ McCarthy. He got outplayed by JJ towards the end. I almost like I said I'm dumb. I'm out on him. But if you follow this show, I've had him in the doghouse for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. I wouldn't let him out. And finally, I think I just said I think it was after the first Green Bay game? It was one of these games towards the end of the season. I said, yeah, Caleb's out of the doghouse. And and ever since then he's been the quarterback that we thought we should be getting. So kudos to Caleb Williams on a just a phenomenal ride. And I just couldn't be more pleased as a fan. As I'm having microphone problems here again. Um, just give me a second, folks. There we go. Okay. See, that's why I'm glad this is like the last show I'm doing. I don't have to worry about this bullshit this bullshit microphone. I'm just fighting through this microphone. You can't see who it is right here. This damn thing's getting me off. There we go. But I just I'm very pleased with the season. I'm very pleased going forward. I think we have something, folks. If you're a Bears fan, you should be very excited for what the season is going to bring the following seasons. But like I said, there's always a chance this could be a Burrow, Zach Taylor effect. It could be. But the difference is I think Caleb is more durable than Joe Burrow. So I think we should be fine. Um, the Bears have to address the defensive line. We got no pressure on staff, even though we was able to get some nice sacks of Matthew Stafford with the addition of Kyler Gordon. You had people like Alex Smith saying the Rams were going to drop 50 on us early in the week. He didn't know that we had Kyler Gordon, who has missed most of the season, but his return to the defense really helped that defense. When him and Briscoe on the field, Dennis Allen can do a lot of things with that defense. So he was able to have a lot of exotic blitzes set up for the Rams, and I think that threw Sean McVay off, and the Rams couldn't really generate the offense that they wanted to play. That's all I got. I thank everybody for tuning in this season. As I made a statement after that Week 1 disaster loss to the Minnesota Vikings, I basically said, "Look, they poked the wrong bear. I'm gonna start doing those some episodes," and it was great. It was good. I mean, I surprisingly got some good amount of views with this show. I mean, look, I'm not saying I'm great. I'm not. I don't think that I'm that good at it, but I try to give my opinion the best way I can. If you're a Bears fan watching, you got to be excited with what we have on the horizon. I really think we definitely have the quarterback coach combination. And remember, there's a strong possibility that we can have consecutive winning seasons for the first time in a long time because of the quarterback coach combination that we have. Remember, the last great Bears teams of the past were defensive oriented teams. But this is different. This is how the NFL should operate when you have successful teams involved. If you look at the NFL Final Four, it is 2-2 as far as the teams left between offensive combination and defensive combinations. Like the New England Patriots probably have the most unique situation where they have a defensive coach with a quarterback, but the offensive coordinator, there's no chance of him going anywhere because Josh McDaniels has been a disaster at the last two stops, and I don't think he's going to have another opportunity to coach. So I think New England could be set. And then you look at Seattle's team, who is defensively ran by Mike McDonald, but their offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, could be hired during hiring this hiring circle that's going on. He could be out. So therefore, Mike McDonald's gonna have to find another offensive coordinator for his quarterback. See, that's why the Bears have been so up and down during this period of time, because they've never had the right coach quarterback combination. It was always like Lovie Smith, defensive guy, Dick Duran, defensive guy, and then you had the quarterback. And so it was hard to develop a quarterback because the defensive coordinator didn't have an offensive system. And then the offensive coordinator that the Bears hired, they were no good. They were trash. So unless I think Mike Martz was probably the best offensive coordinator hire in the Lovie Smith era, but after that, I can't really consider Matt Nagy, who was offensive side of the ball. I don't really consider him a good coach, because his coaches, I mean, his teams were, in my opinion, they weren't mentally stable. They were, and that caused a downward spiral to those teams when Matt Nagy came on board in 2018, and plus the Justin Fields draft, and Nagy and Fields didn't. We know what Fields is now. Clearly, wasn't the right quarterback for the Bears, and Matt Nagy, he just wasn't the right coach. Every coach just feel like they have a fit. I think Nagy may end up in Tennessee as this hiring circle is taking place, and you already see three hires. You got John Harbaugh to the Giants, Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta, and Jeff Hafley, the old defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, is now with the Miami Dolphins. So I expect Nagy to go down to Tennessee, but he may fit there. That's maybe where he fit, but he definitely didn't fit in Chicago. I think Ben Johnson just feels right in Chicago. And of course, as we know, Caleb Williams, I think he's definitely the right quarterback for Chicago. I mean, the way he fixed that ball through that Chicago era, man, it's spectacular. This is probably the most spectacular Bears seasons I've ever witnessed as a fan in all my life. Of course, when I go back to the 80s, when I first started cheering for this team, you're so young, you don't really remember. You just remember the great players, and you do remember glimpses of the Super Bowl, the 85 team and all that. And then 86, I remember losing to the Washington Redskins, and Walter Payton, that dejected look on the sidelines. And then I think that was his final year. And then you got the 88 team that went to, they lost to the 49ers. The 49ers came in for San Francisco and destroyed the Bears at Soldier 28-3. I remember that. I was sitting on the floor watching that game, at my house. And it was bad. It was bad. And then we transitioned to the 90s, and then I went to the military. Got out of football a little bit in the military because of, it was just a weird time in the military. I didn't really pay attention to the Bears as much. And then I regained my passion in 2001, where Urlacher got drafted. And then ever since then, it's been consistent Bears football for me. But this has been one of the most exciting seasons I've ever witnessed as a fan. I can't be more proud of my. They did the unexpected this year. It was the unexpected. So shout out to them, and let's keep the faith, folks. I think we have something special that could amass to a lot of playoff appearances, and possibly a Super Bowl win in the next 3 to 4 years. I'm out. Have a good one.